Hey, it's Saturday, July 8th. Man, it's been 3 weeks since we've been up here. Sorry for the big delay, but we had a lot of stuff going on at home. We had family visits, you name it, we had it going on. But we are back today, and we're going to work a little bit on this fuel line from the header tank to the fuel pump. We've got our throttle cable that we're going to install. I haven't heard back from Rands on the shorter throttle cable, and the way we had this in here going through the top pass through, it was fitting, but it just wasn't that great. It was putting a strain on this here, and this is the mixture cable, but the throttle cable it had a strain pushing up on it, and then it was bending this down. So we're going to figure this out. I think what we're going to do is we'll fabricate up a support here that will come down and attach to that throttle cable where it comes in here, and that will keep that straight there. And then we'll get it figured out. We'll get our routing finalized on the firewall side of the engine, and those are our only two things for today, I think. So far, okay. All right, well, yeah. Welcome back. Here we go. Want to talk a little bit on this header tank to fuel pump change that we did. I did end up getting a shut-off valve for this header tank with a male pipe thread on it, so we've got that screwed in. This isn't finalized, but we determined that everything fit in here, and what we can do is we can take this handle off when we screw this in, make sure we get it all clocked right and in there good, and then we've got the female pipe thread on this side to an AN, and then this hose came from TS Flight Lines, and originally this was a straight hose that went from this outlet on the header tank over to this fuel pump, and you just put a bend in it. It had a little bit of slack in it. What we did, since we had this this shutoff valve in here, needed this to be a little bit shorter, and checked around town, did find a company in town that could make this shorter, but I wanted to put a 45 on this end, and they weren't able to source that in any kind of short time frame. Contacted Tom Swearingen at TS Flight Lines, and he said just send the hose back to him, tell him how long we needed it with a 45, and they'd take care of the rest, which they did. All I had to pay was just to ship the hose down to them. They did everything else at no charge for us, shipped it back. So some really good service from TS Flight Lines on that. And so what we're going to do, we'll try this a couple different ways, but we'll figure out which way that's going to fit and get that put on there. I've got our fuel hose in here that goes from the header tank to the fuel pump. I didn't videotape this. We were kind of figuring out as we went along. Ended up getting it all put in and tightened down, so sorry about not getting that process, but I mean, there's not much to it. I did have to adjust this fuel pump bracket back by about a 1/16 of an inch. We were about a 1/16 short on the hose to give it a little bit of flex in there. So we've got a little bit of flex, and did the 45 on there, the straight connector there. Well, actually that's the one that comes with the fuel pump, but got that connected, got it tightened down, and we marked those faces so we know that that's been done already. And I've got the fuel valve in here, so that's on, and this is off. I put a hole in that handle when we get ready to get this all filled up and everything. Once we're done with that, I should say once we're done with the fuel system, we'll safety wire this open So that's what the hole is for the safety wire. We'll just probably wrap it around this valve right here, so that'll be tied open. So moving on to throttle cable. Oh, we ended up a little sidetracked here today. We ended up finishing the mixture control here. We've got that installed and connected and rigged to the fuel servo. We ended up getting that done. Didn't really record any of that stuff, but we did get that done, and I was going to show how we safety wired the control in here. So we've got this control cable safety wired in. I did 3 loops of 32,000 safety wire on that, and then twisted that up and got that trimmed and bent around there. And we got the second hole for the mount, the bracket drilled. We got that drilled there and got the bolt put in. Got that all torqued down, got this one torqued down, and as well as, if you can see my finger, that one right there, we got that all done and torqued. And again, here's that safety wire that we put on here to hold that control into the bracket. One of the quandaries we had on this control cable and this fuel line, this is the fuel line that goes from the This is the fuel line that goes from the fuel flow transducer to the input, the inlet of the fuel servo, and it was riding down against this exhaust support. And I was trying to figure out a way to get that off of there, and also this mixture cable was hitting this fuel pump back up here, right down there on the corner. And I did a couple cushion clamps here, and then bolted those together and got it adjusted so they're both sitting away from this exhaust support, and also the control the cable for the mixture is away from that fuel pump. And just not sure if this is 100% kosher to have the cushion clamps on here, but I think it is. But that's how we got that stuff to stand off from that exhaust mount. But yeah, so that's another part of it. And mentioned this in previous videos, the book calls for the mixture cable to come out through that top pass-through down there, the top one, and the throttle through the bottom one. We found that the mixture cable fit much better coming through the bottom one, and also looks like I guess we kind of test fit the throttle cable, and it was actually fitting better through the top one. So that yet remains to be seen if that's the case or not, but yeah. Drilled out the rivets for this throttle support and for the nut plate, that center nut plate. We drilled those out in order to be able to install the throttle cable, because with this installed, the throttle cable going through that hole, there's no way to get a wrench or anything back in there to actually tighten down the throttle cable. So we're going to keep this loose here, and we're going to loosen it from the bracket in the back, and then we can tip that down and install that throttle cable. We've also got the alternate air cable. We're going to install that as well, and that goes through that hole back there on the firewall right there. And we started pushing it through, and it pushed the grommet out, so I got to put the grommet back in and see if there's anything else we need to do different there. So I got our throttle mixture and alternate air cables installed here. Did have to do a kind of a last minute little adjustment here on our bracket. It was just kind of pushing this cable over a little bit. So grabbed the Dremel, got that taken care of, got that put in. We've got it riveted in. We've got the nut plate in back in there now, and got this installed. So we'll get everything hooked up and adjusted on the throttle side and make sure that is good to go and rigged. The mixture one is already done, so we'll get going on that. Yeah. Once we get this all finalized, we'll pull these off. We'll unscrew these back, and then we'll put the Loctite on there, and then screw them down.
Okay.
And then wrench them down. Alright, got our throttle cable installed and got it safety wired in there. Couldn't get it quite as clean as on the other side, but it's gonna work. We've got 3 wraps of safety wire through that bracket around each side of that, and that holds that cable into that retainer. And now we've got that fixed in place, we'll do like we did on the other side. We'll drill the holes through there and mount that second nut and bolt in there to fix this swivel, the left-right swivel, and then we'll tighten down for the this up and down swivel. Gorgeous day today. A little warm, but that's all right. We can deal with that. Maybe, I think it was probably about 80, 83, but beautiful day today. All right, we're calling it a day today. We're really close on this throttle cable. Got it all installed and everything. This arm on this fuel servo for the throttle needs to be adjusted a little bit when we go full throttle, pushed it all the way in. We're not quite hitting the stop. Well, I'm hitting the stop right now, but I've got this turnbuckle, not turnbuckle, I've got this, what do they call this?
I call it a fisheye.
We're going to call it a fisheye. This swivel mount, I have this backed way out on the threads. I mean, it's only screwed in like maybe 3.5 turns or something like that. And I would be much more comfortable if it was further threaded in there. So we'll adjust this out by one click. You can kind of see, but you can loosen this nut and then you can adjust this arm a little bit. So we'll adjust it and put another cotter key back in there on that castle nut. Do that tomorrow, and that should wrap it up for the throttle. And from that point on, we can go move on to cabin heat control. Oh, let's see. We did pull this. This is the alternate air cable. We did pull this through to get that. Let's see, where does it go? It goes somewhere. There it is. Goes there through the firewall. We pulled that through to do that throttle panel. But so we've also got the cabin heat control that we still need to connect up to the valve, that flapper valve there. So we'll probably get started on that tomorrow after we finish up the throttle cable, and we'll see what we get after that. So anyways, hey everybody, it's great to be back at it here. Thanks for watching the videos. Everybody have a great evening, and that's it for now.